Well, of course, it's all about elections with just a few days to go until the general elections. INEC Chairman Professor Mahmoud Yakubu says the Commission is confident of the optimal performance of the bimodal voter accreditation system, of course known as BVAS, that's to be deployed for the February 25th and March 11th polls. He gave the assurance at the mock accreditation of voters using the BVAS machine in the nation's capital, Abuja. Arise correspondent Oluwole has more.
Everyone is counting down to the 2023 general elections, and the anticipation is mounting every day. INEC is also crossing our T's and dotting our I's. INEC Chairman Professor Mahmoud Yakubu is not about leaving anything to chances. He goes around to the FCT Abuja polling units to inspect the mock accreditation of voters. Of particular interest to him is the functionality of the BVAS machines.
We have broken the register now, so that it's not all the registers for each of the machines. So we have two separate.
First, he comes to Post Office Polling Unit, Area 810 Garki. He speaks to the INEC officials on the ground to feel their pulse. Not many voters can be seen participating in the mock accreditation.
Unfortunately, I'm not
Apparently, he's satisfied with the state of affairs. Then he and his team moved to Buhari Saraki polling unit to see if anything is different. Here in Buhari Saraki, the situation is much the same.
We are satisfied with the tests carried out in our office, but we needed to test the machines in the field ahead of the election. Bearing in mind that this is the first time we are deploying the machines nationwide. So we have identified 436 polling units nationwide on the equality of states of the Federation, on the basis of 2 local governments per senatorial district and 4 polling units per local government, making a total of 16 polling units per state, on the basis of which we have now deployed the machines. So in the FCT, there are 4 polling units earmarked for the test. This is one of the polling units. The other one is the one we visited at the post office. And so far, so good. Voters have been verified using their PVCs and then authenticated using their fingerprint or facial, on the basis of which they will be given the ballot papers on election day after successful accreditation.
The machine, we don't have any problem. We are working successfully. When we go to authentic, if it doesn't work, we go to fetch and we get it clear. So since we have been working, we don't have any issue. Even one issue we don't have at all. We are working successfully.
The countdown has since begun. Now the coast is clear. The BVAS machines are in good shape. INEC has also assured that the outings will have no hiccups. It's only days to the general elections. What would you rather do? Wouldn't you dust off your PVC and come out to exercise a franchise? Tolu or Jeremy, Arise News.
Now, former INEC Director Oluwole Uzzi joins us now to assess the mock accreditation of voters towards the general election, the essence of the exercise, outcomes, and other preparations for the general election. Good to have you on Newsday. Thank you for joining us.
Always a pleasure. Thank you for having me.
It's a pleasure as well. Now, there were mixed reactions in the Federal Capital Territory. You understand that things went relatively smooth. But in other polling units, we understand that, first of all, it wasn't as thorough as one would have expected in terms of, for instance, one of the outcomes or the recordings was that for 1 out of every 405 polling units was included, which means that 404 were left out for each polling unit. That's one recording. And the other, we had a recording of officials arriving 3 hours after they were scheduled to open. So how seriously would you say the electoral body took this accreditation exercise?
Yes, thank you. I actually did not get the reports that you had, possibly because your networks are much wider than mine. I know that the Commission is collating all the reports from all the units that were visited, that were used for the exercise. I think that it took it very seriously. It's not the first time this kind of thing is happening. Recall that in 2015, just before the 2015 general elections, when the smart card reader was introduced, a mock exercise was also undertaken to test it. And usually you do these things in the confines of your office, and the atmospheric conditions are slightly different from when you go outside, where you go to the field. So I think after testing these things in the offices, they say, look, let us go to the field, as the INEC chairman has said. And it's a very serious thing because they want to familiarize voters with the public with these machines. Most people who have just seen this thing on television or have not seen it at all. So it's for an opportunity for those polling units, people to come out and have a feel of it and see how it works. I think he did take it extremely seriously. That's why the chairman himself led the monitoring team. National commissioners went out, administrative secretaries, resident electoral commissioners, directors. People went out to ensure that this exercise was hitch-free, because things might have to be fine-tuned before 2.5 weeks, when the things will be deployed to all polling units in the country, over 170,000 polling units in the country.
Absolutely, and a commendable outing by INEC, and we all appreciate the importance of them stepping out of the office and doing this in real terms. However, the Center for Democracy and Development observed that they felt the turnout was on the lower side, understandably so. It is a mock exercise, but it ended up being about less than 3% per polling unit. Now, this is a concern because as much as there's faith in going with BVAS and going electronic and so forth, the worry has always been the scale, that it's never been done on the scale. Even if you look at the last Kenyan election that was fully digital and electronic, it took them a good few months to make sure that everything was scaled to necessity to provide the nation with what it would need on that day. With a 3% turnout per polling unit, is this an accurate reflection of accuracy, giving the huge factor that will exist on election day, which is scale?
Well, as you know, the exercise was a mock exercise. It was not mandatory. It wasn't compulsory for all registered voters who intend to vote during the general elections to come out. And people will do so at their convenience. There's nothing you can do about that one. But statistically, you might say it's insignificant, but it gives you an indication of how things work. You test the process. You test it with as many people as turn out. If only 3% of the people have turned out, there's not much you can really do about that. But at least it will give you an indication. The indices certain indices are used, and where there are hitches or where there are challenges, it gives you an opportunity to address those challenges before the main event itself.
Thank you, Mr. Oluwole. One other observation that was made by the Center for Democracy and Development, also known as CDD, was that they expressed worry that I'm taking this verbatim, that observation from its field officials saw that some voters' confidence had been dampened over the misconception that the malfunction of the BVAS was responsible for the Election Petition Tribunal judgment, which nullified the victory of the candidate earlier declared by the INEC as winner in the Osun state governorship election conducted last year, July. Just wondering if you think this is something worth addressing, even though that might have not been what was the primary focus of this mock exercise, in order to avoid voter apathy as well.
Apart from voter apathy, we have to be concerned with the credibility of the process and perception, what people actually think of the process. I'm happy you used the word which CDD used as a misconception as to what happened in that in Osun and the details of the judgment. The judgment has been shared online. I just wish as many people as can actually read it. The BVAS worked quite well. It worked quite well. Before the Osun judgment, this mock exercise had been planned. As I stated earlier, each time INEC wants to introduce major technological advances, it tests these things out, and it's best practice. It's proper that you should test these things out. So it doesn't have much to do with Osun, but there are lessons we learned from Osun, and we hope we'll use every opportunity to disabuse people's mind and against that misconception that the BVAS did not work. The BVAS indeed worked very well, and if there was overvoting, it probably as a result of the fact that the BVAS worked extremely well. There were only 6 polling units in Osun that were discovered to have, where it was discovered to have been, there was overvoting. And it was through the efforts of the BVAS that this was observed. We need to build confidence. We need to, there's a rollback. We must ensure that technology continues to play an important role in our electoral process. We don't want human interference. Human interference comes with so many challenges and loopholes, and we don't want that. Not that technology is a silver bullet. No, certainly not. But at least it will, as much as possible, eliminate or reduce the malpractice, reduce human interference, reduce human discretion in these matters. It's an automated process. But I personally am satisfied, and I think the Commissioner is quite satisfied with how the BVAS performed in Osun and how this mock exercise went. Whatever hitches, whatever issues that there are, will have to be addressed by the Commission before in the next few days.
That's right. Now, of course, ultimately, all of this is being done so that Nigerians, registered voters, can come out in their numbers to exercise their rights as citizens on the day. However, there's been concern raised about the fact that over 40% of the newly registered voters are students who will be stuck in school in their various institutions of education on the various voting days. Something that potentially may still be addressed. We don't know yet. But what are your thoughts around this, as we build up to election day, just a few days to go? Is there any way around this with the students who mostly registered possibly in their hometowns and have now traveled elsewhere for their studies?
Well, first of all, I question the premise upon which the conclusion is being drawn. You're assuming that the fact that maybe so many students registered, the assumption is that they registered outside of their school environment. I don't know whether that is correct or not. Yes, truly, the schools, many universities, not just other tertiary institutions, universities were on strike as a result of the ASU strike. So quite a number of people were at home for a few months. But the exercise has been going on for quite a while. It's been a continuous exercise. So I don't want to go with the assumption that all students who registered, 1, are university students, 2, were affected by the ASU strike, and 3, that they registered in their universities and will not be able to vote. So we must address the premise upon which that conclusion is being drawn. But having said that, it's a concern that certain people who registered at home cannot go back home to cast their votes. It's important. The credibility of an election is partly determined by the turnout. So I hope that an arrangement can be worked out between relevant stakeholders, particularly perhaps the Ministry of Education, the National Universities Commission, and INEC. But don't forget that other tertiary institutions like Board of Technical Education and the regulatory body for the polytechnics, all these will be brought onto the table in the next few days, and I hope they can reach some kind of resolution. We, on a different level, those, I understand some universities have fixed exams for about that period. I don't think, admittedly, 8 months is a long time for students to be out of university, but I don't think maybe a day or two, if you make Friday before the election a work-free, lecture-free day, maybe Thursday and Friday, so people can, those who wish to travel or those who wish to go home can go home on Friday, cast their votes on Saturday, and I see no reason why they cannot be back on campus, say, on Sunday, and normal academic activities resume on Monday. Things can be worked out. It's not rocket science. It's not a particularly obstinate thing that cannot be circumvented. I think something ought and should be done.
Thank you, Mr. Oluwole. Now, of course, we know that you have a wealth of experience at being a former INEC director, and we also know that the biggest room is room for improvement. What would you have liked to see in this mock exercise? Even though the reports you got were, on the cheery side, what do you think could have been done better from your standpoint based on your former position?
Well, on my own, from my standpoint, I believe that it would have been better, resources permitting and the logistics of it all, if the exercise had been extended to as many more polling units, probably at least 10% of the polling units in the country, which would be like 17,000. Now, I realize that will have involved a lot of costs, a lot of inconvenience, and logistics issues might have arisen. But it's just a few weeks to the election. Actually, I think we should be counting days to the election now. I wish many more units had been used to get a better statistical average. But having said that, we should await the final reports that INEC will come up with. And I hope that will be done expeditiously so that by tomorrow, Wednesday, Thursday, all the reports will be in and there'll be an analysis of what was discovered in the field. Even this issue arising from the Osun judgment, the need to synchronize, perhaps INEC will go back and say, can we do without that synchronization? Can we hasten the time, shorten the time for synchronization so that all results are uploaded, the accredited results, data for accreditation and results are uploaded within a reasonable time? I see no reason why it shouldn't be done possibly within 48 hours, so that people will know that, look, we can, once you certify a document that this is the back end, it will tally with what is in the BVAS, so that the dichotomy that arose, the latent discrepancy that arose between the transmitted data, transmitted results, and that contained in the BVAS is eliminated. We must build confidence, and some of these little things tend to underscore the importance of building confidence, that people should know, so that it's not as if there are now two different results. That leaves room for speculation, room for idle gossip, and lots of things will happen and say, look, we don't trust INEC. And trust is a very, probably the most important commodity in the electoral process presently, especially trust in the election management body. Trust that you deliver the votes, trust that people can vote seamlessly, trust that the results of what is the votes cast, people get to know them as soon as possibly can.
Absolutely. And on that note of getting to know the votes as soon as is humanly possible, or rather technologically possible, how confident are you, again, because we didn't see a very broad national coverage with regards to the mock accreditation. But prior to this, over the past few months, various political players have sounded the alarm and raised red flags about concerns about network availability, for example, in some of these areas. Did you get any of those reports from the mock accreditation exercise? Are there any issues of that nature that you feel need to be ironed out, or that we should still be concerned about at this stage?
As I said, the official report is not out yet. I think all the field reports, I hope they'll be in by tomorrow or Wednesday at the latest. So it's only when those things have come that we can now sit down, the commission will sit down and analyze all those reports and address the issues. Definitely, I will expect that there will be issues of network challenges. I personally, for example, have had serious challenges on my phone. Many people have called and said, look, we've been trying to reach you, it's been difficult, and I've been trying to reach people, it's been difficult. But the good thing is that as soon as the BVAS is taken to probably local government headquarters or anywhere where there's service, the service will pick up and the results will be transmitted. As you said, within a reasonable time, as soon as it's technologically possible. Because once there's a delay, things begin to happen. Speculation will now become rife and say, are they cooking up the results, or what is happening? What is the cause of this? We must understand that although coverage is fairly good, we spend so much time in debating whether there should be transmission of results, there should not be transmission. We lost sight of the more important things. What can we do to improve our infrastructural backbone? How much can we invest in that? We must, as a country, invest in that, not just for the electoral process, but for much broader uses of that infrastructural advancement. It is very important, and I hope that will not cause hitch. But let us await the official report. I hope INEC will share with civil society, share with the media, share with stakeholders, and say, these are the challenges, and this is how we intend to address, or how we are addressing the challenges, and we're sure to overcome them in a few days, certainly before the election in 2.5 weeks' time.
Thank you, Mr. Oluwole. Now, you've definitely touched on the very important matters regarding this mock accreditation, but if you permit me, I'd like to ask you your thoughts on how the electoral body has handled the whole PVC collection process. Of course, we understand that numerous PVCs are yet to be collected. We understand that some Nigerians are even suing the electoral body for PVC-related matters. And since you hinted or you elaborately explained that that issue of trust is very crucial coming from the electoral body, I'd just like to know how you, from your perspective, especially based on your former position, again, how you think this PVC collection has been handled. Could it have been better? Do you think that things have gone relatively smoothly? Are you content?
Well, in any endeavor, there will always be room for improvement. We should always strive to improve things. We should always ensure that service delivery is improved upon. And I think, and I hope INEC takes it very seriously. When I was there, it was uppermost in the minds of the Commission, and I have no reason to say that that's no longer the position. I think it is. It's also informed the decision to extend the period for it. Like a lot of other things that have deadlines in the country, we tend to keep things to the last minute. For months and months and months, PVC distribution has been ongoing, quite honestly. It didn't start today. What was done, it was extended to the ward level, to the registration area levels. Admittedly, it's not always the most convenient for people to go to their local government headquarters. There are some communities that are 1 hour, 2 hours drive or by speedboat to the local government headquarters. So we must sympathize with those kind of people, and not surprising, some of them, due to cost, due to other reasons, will probably wait for it to get to the registration or ward area for distribution. I don't know whether there's a more efficient way of doing this. Maybe we'll consider collection by proxy, but that's a very dangerous thing, and the Commission has refused to be tempted or seduced by that argument, because if you allow that, then many people might just collect by proxy, and rather than being people you trust, it will be politicians collecting these cards, hoarding them, preventing them, or putting conditions for your collection of those cards. So that is the danger in collection by proxy or doing it any other way. Some people suggested we should post them to the registrants, but you know how efficient our postal system is. Courier is not an option. Courier is extremely expensive. So these are all, a lot of people make suggestions, but we must think through these suggestions. For now, I don't think the Commission thinks of a better way, but to cascade it as far as it can. The ideal thing would be to cascade it to the polling unit level, but the cost involved is humongous, and I think that's why it has always resisted that. Again, there are many people who went to the polling, to registration points and could not find their cards. Part of the reason that it's not out there is that people who did multiple registration, who did second registration, will not find their cards there, actually. Yes, they have slips showing they did registration, but by the time the process went on, the ABs, it was the computer went through the thing and found out that they had previously been registered. And rather than do a transfer, they went on to register again. They will not find their cards in the new points where they registered. Those transfers and those new will be nullified. That's voided by the Commission. That's the policy, and that's in the guidelines. Commission voids the second registration, and you have to go back to your original place of registration, or when next the exercise comes up, you now apply for a transfer rather than apply to be registered afresh. So I think lessons must be learnt. We must fine-tune things against the next cycle. But for now, it's closed. The guillotine has fallen, and we must deal with what we have. And we're in the home stretch of the election, so concentration now will be on the voting process and how to make it and how people turn out. Those are the areas I think the Commission is concentrating on, how to get materials available and on time.
Mr. Oluwole Osaze Uzzi, former INEC director, thank you for sharing the wisdom of experience with us. We appreciate your time today.